Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count live with me, your host and international award-winning Make Every Second Count speaker, Jeff Marconette Jr. Now, tonight's guest is going to be pretty awesome because our stories kind of have some similarities, and I find that to be rather neat. But I ask you if you would please share this episode out, invite all kinds of people to watch it. In fact, I ask you if you would tag 3 people in the comments. You can handle that, just 3. But I also want to say that you can keep the comments coming, keep them flowing, and give us all kinds of thumbs up, hearts, angry faces, sad faces. Give us whatever you want because that helps us trick the algorithm on all of the websites. So, with no further ado, I would like to bring Cory to the stage. Hey, Cory.
How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing fantastic. You?
I can't complain.
That's good. Nobody wants to hear complainers, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I happen to know a lot of people complain quite a bit, and it's definitely not the best thing in the world. So, if you would like to go through a short introduction, I'm going to make this video where everybody can comment on it on Facebook real quick.
Okay. Awesome.
All right.
Well,
Thanks, Cory.
my name is Cory McCaskey. I am a real estate coach and a sales psychology coach now for a little over 20 years. Been in some of the big name brokerages around the area. Currently, official real estate company of the Dallas Cowboys. So I get to recruit, teach, and train real estate agents, teach them about the sales and process, and that's what I do day to day. But I do several other things as well as we'll get into on the call tonight.
That is awesome, man. I'm glad that you do all that, man. I am super glad that you are here tonight. Now, darn it. I'm trying to mess with the video on Facebook so everybody can comment on it, and it's giving me issues. I wish Facebook would let me do this one time and then never do it again, but they change it back every time that you do a video, and that's weird. But so I happen to know from my own experience that things are not always the easiest in life, and a lot of times it is hard. And people go through things that are hard and they don't realize that they can do hard. You see, I was in a car accident when I was 17. I spent 2.5 months in a coma and 3.5 in the hospital. In fact, I had the same halo on as you wore, and you can see my scars if you look closely. And so I know what it is to go through hard times. And I know each and every person out there goes through hard times. And oftentimes we have to grow through those hard times to get out the other side. So I ask you, Cory, have you had to grow through anything in your life?
Well, absolutely. I think that's why it was good to start this conversation off with talking about complaining, right? Because one thing that the point I try to get across to everyone is perception is everything, right? Life is about perseverance, about performance. It's about purpose, and when you find your purpose, it's a lot easier to kind of tune into what you were called to do. And I kind of feel like that's where I'm at. It took a long time for me to get here. A lot of adversity. So let me start at the beginning. I was years old when I got my first gun charge and ended up in juvenile hall. I was in and out of juvenile hall several times until the age of 14, where I became a father at the age of 14. Actually got kicked out of high school my freshman year, became emancipated because I was now a parent, became a legal adult, got my driver's license, and started college at 14 years old. A couple of years into that and being an advocate for kind of what I used to joke and say, hey, I represent the class of losers. I come from nothing, and there's opportunities for all of us. You can go to school. You can do what I'm doing. You know my story. I had that motorcycle accident, and I don't know how in depth you want me to go into that right now. But that was probably the beginning of the biggest adversities, overcoming it, recovering, rehabbing, learning to walk again. All that stuff was obviously a huge, huge process.
Yeah, I happen to know that going through like relearning to walk is not as easy as you think it would be because like when all right, so I was 17 when my accident happened. I was an avid sportsman. I did all kinds of things. And then I had that accident, and I often tell people that it was like being born again because I had to relearn everything once I came out of my coma and got to the point where I could start doing some therapy. But it's really hard, isn't it?
But it's extremely hard, and that recovery process is not only difficult physically, it's difficult mentally. To go from in a young man in a situation where you're a young man and like you were into sports and all that. I was too. I was a football player, basketball player. I wrestled. I fought mixed martial arts. I did a lot of different things, and it's extremely humbling to get to a point where you have to have another human being. In my case, it was my mom's boyfriend that had to help me into the tub so that I could even bathe myself.
Yeah.
Little things like that most people take for granted that you and I can both relate to, right? Because when you break your neck and you're in that halo, I mean, there's so many things you can't do for yourself. And so it definitely makes you grateful for the time that you have here. It makes you definitely think about what's your reason and what's the purpose that you're here for. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about this evening.
Yeah, I want to ask the audience a question. So, guys, if you're out there and you're listening to this, put in the comments one thing that you have that you take for granted. That might be the use of your fingers, the use of your hands, your feet, your toes, your legs. Heck, I know people that don't even have toes, don't even have limbs. And we think we have it bad because we don't have a certain thing or can't do a certain thing. Nah, you gotta think bigger because life is so much bigger than that. So can you explain your accident some?
Yeah, so I was like I said, I was promoting education and what you could do for yourself. I was actually going to Southern Illinois University for contractual law and business management. And I was leaving, I was at the Air Force Base across the street, literally is the college. I was going right across the street, and an elderly lady said the sun was in her eyes. She didn't even see me coming, so she never slowed down. She was doing about 80 miles an hour, 75, 80 miles an hour. And I saw her coming, so I hit the brakes. Now, this was a cold, foggy morning. It was November 11th. We just passed the 20-year anniversary last week, is where you saw that video.
Yeah.
And as I'm coming up and I see this car pulling out in front of me, I tried to hit the brakes. Well, if you've ever been on, or anybody that's ever been on a motorcycle, and if it's slick outside, you try to hit the brakes, it slides right out from underneath you.
Yeah.
Well, it fell to the left and trapped my left leg underneath the motorcycle and shattered my left knee. And I'm literally sliding down the road at the side of this car. And so I'm trying to lift the bike just enough to get my leg out so that I could bail out before making impact. And when I lifted the bike just enough, the tires caught the road and it just catapulted me straight at the passenger side of the car. I
Wow.
do the ugliest flip you ever seen, about as high as the telephone poles, came straight down on my helmet, cracked my helmet in half and imploded 5 vertebrae in my neck, collapsed both things, fractured my skull, threw my heart into AFib, spent a little almost 2 months in a coma, a year learning to walk again and rehabbing myself. And still to this day, I am supposed to be fully disabled, and I'm in the gym every day. I also own a remodeling company. I own an investment company where we buy and flip houses. I'm on the job site. I'm walking. I'm swinging hammers. I'm carrying materials. So nothing has stopped me. In fact, I say I'm getting stronger every day.
That is amazing. I have to say that I'm really happy that you came on here to share your story and you made it that 20 years. I know that was a big day for me too.
Yeah.
So I happen to know that there's a lot of people out there that are going through certain things. And like, what advice would you give them that you learned from what you went through?
I think probably one of the most important lessons that I've learned is that you need to focus on the moments and making memories over money. It's about making an impact over making an income. It's about chasing significance as opposed to success. I hope that's resonating with anybody watching this, because I've saw so many people in my position and in the real estate industry become so successful, and what most of us would think had everything, and we're not happy. And
Yeah.
yet some people that have very limited resources and they're extremely happy. And so that always kind of intrigued me. And I think for a lot of people, you're always moving the goalpost forward. When it comes to success, we're always trying to achieve a goal. And when we achieve it, we set a new one. And that's great. It gives us drive. And I think that money should be one of our driving factors, as long as it's not your motivation. Your motivation should be, what can you do with the money? What sort of difference can you make? How can you impact the lives of others, right? Because
Yeah.
it's all about doing the right things for the right reasons, not what's in it for you. Money is a byproduct of doing the right thing. So years ago, I stopped worrying about what I was going to do for a paycheck or dancing for my dinner. And I started, how can I help people? And so I literally call people constantly now, or reach out to people in my sphere of influence. And I'm like, hey, how's your logistics company doing? Oh yeah, yeah. How can I increase your business for you? How can I come help you with your RGAs, which are revenue generating activities? Can we go over your ROIs, your return on investment? Where are we spending our time marketing? Are we using social media properly? What about our sales? Anybody that's in sales, I feel like, with me being in sales for over 20 years and teaching sales psychology, which for anybody on the call that doesn't exactly know what that is, it's things like tie downs and takeaways, purposeful pauses, when to lean in, when to lean out, tone and building rapport, building urgency, and how to close deals. And so teaching that to people, one of the most important things that I could teach any salesperson is all sales comes down to like, trust, and understanding. If you can make someone understand how the product will benefit them, it just comes down to them liking and trusting you. If you can make them see enough value in your product, they should call cousins, brothers, uncles, anybody under the sun to be able to purchase that deal from you, because that value is so immense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so to me, I think that a lot of people go through the day-to-day monotonous stuff in their business, and they forget about the perseverance it took to maybe get where they are. A lot of people think that they're lifetime entrepreneurs, and they're not. Entrepreneurship is a beginning phase. It's a beginning stage. And once you become a business owner, you've kind of grown out of that phase. Unless you're someone like me, right? And that's A-type personality. That's the visionary, the person that believes there's too many letters in the alphabet to only have a plan B, right? And so
Yeah.
career and businesses all started organically. I used to run a company back in the day, and I don't even know. Well, you're only a few years younger, I think, than me, so you may remember. But there was a company called Direct Buy back in the day. It was a
Yeah.
wholesale or Amazon and all this online shopping, and it was a place where you could buy direct for your home and avoid all the retail markups. And the commercials were all over every channel. We've got living room and bedroom sets, dining room sets, armoires, end tables, coffee tables, sofa tables, bookcases, and mirrors, floor lamps. And I traveled the country and taught those sales presentations and the sales psychology. And so I knew everything about countertops and cabinetry, flooring, windows, doors, building materials, which led me organically to real estate once Amazon and some of these other online shopping companies came about. After a few years in real estate, I established a reputation for going above and beyond, which I now encourage all of my agents to do. But let me elaborate. I had a family that couldn't close on their home 2 weeks before Christmas. In-laws didn't get along with the mom and dad, so the wife was going to take one daughter and go to her family's house. Husband take one daughter and go to his family's house, and I said, absolutely not. You guys are moving in with us. So him and his wife and two kids moved in with my wife and two kids, and we had Christmas together. It was, it seemed that those trouble cases, the people that were going through hardships seemed to find me. And so it would be, the single mom with two young kids that the husband just left and punched holes on the walls and couldn't afford to fix the house up. So I would literally go into these homes and take the money out of my pocket and fix the home up and paint it and pay for the photos and everything and get it ready to sell, with the mindset that, look, even if I make only $500 or $700, it's better than nothing. I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And eventually a friend of mine said, hey, you're a real estate investor, but you're flipping these people's houses for them. And he said, why don't you at least say, hey, if I do this for you, let's split the profit. And so it started that way. Hey, let me come in and I'll fix the house up for you. That way you don't have to sell it and take a huge loss. And whatever profit we make, we'll split. Make sense? And so that's how it started. And then I began flipping my own homes. And as more and more people saw the before and after product, I started getting more and more requests to come do similar things at other people's properties. And so that led organically to opening a general contracting or remodeling company. And so now I oversee and just kind of point fingers and send my crews to go do jobs all over the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I've been blessed enough to get to a position to where now I don't have to trade my time for money constantly.
Yeah.
It was a long-winded answer, but let me get this out because I think this is very important for anybody that watches this. Most of us are stuck in this vicious cycle of trading our time for money, where we go to our employers and most of them could care less if we were gone tomorrow. They may send flowers, but they're going to replace us tomorrow. And our family didn't get closure. They didn't get to spend that time with us. No one has ever laid on their deathbed and said, oh, I wish I'd have made a couple more bucks or worked a few more hours, right? Have probably heard that before, but it's so real. And when you're in a situation like I was, Jeff, a lot of people don't know this because I don't talk about it. People might think we're crazy, but when I was in my coma, I remember everything. I could tell you what people wore to the hospital to come see me. I could tell you what they said. I could tell you what was on the television set while
I can't do that.
I remember everything so vividly, which is astonishing because I can't remember yesterday. But I remember all these details and all these heartfelt goodbyes. And all it did was make me respect the time that we have left so much that it gave me I guess a new sense of urgency, right? I got this sense of urgency to make sure that the impact that I make is the greatest that I possibly can, because we obviously know tomorrow's not promised, right?
Yeah.
I won't keep ranting.
That's exactly right. You took the words right out of my mouth. Well, they were your words, but I'll just say you said what I wanted to say. So, all right, I have a friend that lives in Africa, and he constantly is looking for something better, and he wants to get out of Africa, but he can't seem to actually do it because of financial constraints and things like that. And he's not making great money because the work over there, guys, I don't understand it all, but it's not very good. So what exactly would you tell him in that case?
Does he have net access where he's at?
Yes.
Okay. So when I was growing up, we didn't have access to the things that obviously are so easily available to people nowadays. If I had to start everything over again, I would say that what I've learned is brokering the deal. Be a connector. Find someone, and let me explain. I had somebody reach out, like I said, that asked us to do remodels. Well, I'm busy doing my own, so I reached out to another contractor and said, "Hey, can you go bid this job for me? Send the email to my email address, the bid to my email address. I oversee everything. I negotiate with the potential client. I do all the politicking, right? And I handle the ordering of materials, the payout, making sure everything's covered. I cover insurance, all that. And then I simply mark it up and make a profit off of what that contractor does. So I never have to leave my house. I just simply brokered that deal. A
Yeah.
friend of logistics. He used to have trucks, and the maintenance costs and constantly hiring drivers and stuff got so expensive that he said, you know what? I'll just call independent truckers and broker the deal and mark it up a little bit. And then I'll make the money that way. And then I don't have the extreme overhead and all that. And so this is going to loop right back into what I was saying about trading our time for money, right? Most people, if you ask them today, how much would you need to make monthly to be able to retire tomorrow? They will say a crazy exorbitant amount like 20, 30, $40,000, when the reality is you could probably pay all of your monthly bills. You could probably have a nice lifestyle, eat good, buy gifts, vacation, do extracurricular activities for $5,000 or $6,000 a month. So the question becomes, and that's in America. In Africa, where your friend is, obviously you do a lot more with that money. My point is find things. You see people every day. I was in Foot Locker or the other day, or no, it was the Nike outlet over at the Tanger Outlet Mall, and I saw this couple with like 30 or 40 pairs of shoes, and I'm like, wow.
Wow.
Us really like shoes. I knew what they were doing, but I just to make conversation, because my goal is always to lead into a conversation with someone to see how I can help them with their business.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no one out there that I can't help. Either you're buying, you're selling, you're investing, you need to be investing, you've got a business, you want a business, you're struggling with the business, right? So anybody I can help, but they've got like 30 or 40 pairs of shoes. And what he was doing was he was going into the outlet and he would look the shoes up and find out, hey, these sell for $60 or $70 and I can buy them here for $40. So I'm going to sell them online. And so that's what he was doing to make the extra money. I said something earlier that I think may have went over some people's head, which is there's too many letters in the alphabet to only have a plan B. Right? It's not, this is the day of side hustles. It's a new age with technology, and COVID brought that to the forefront for everyone. You saw more home cooks and video people and rappers and everything else than you've ever seen before, right? And
Yeah.
that was because everybody was trying to find something to do online, but now it's become the new wave. It's the way that people shop. So you have your affiliate links. You've obviously got e-commerce. You've got all these things, but I don't want to go down the same path or suggest the same things that you could find from anybody else. Think outside the box and figure out, how do you broker the deal? It could be anything. You can literally buy water and mark it up and sell it. That's what sales is. So think about how you can broker the deal, whatever industry that you're in, whatever product it is that you deal with. How can you broker the deal? Sit back, do less effort, make the money, and figure out how to live on less, because you'll be a lot happier. I promise you that.
Great advice. So, how would you suggest that people find that side hustle? Like you said, we can't just go to Google and search for extra ways to make money. Well, you can, but that's probably not going to lead you to the best things.
Yeah, you'll end up going down a rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland and be gone for months. And then so here's the thing, right? It's all about finding your passion. What are you passionate about? What do you enjoy doing? for me, it took a long time. I thought that sales was my passion. I was really good at it, and I thought that was my gift. And then I realized that it wasn't. It was reaching people. It was helping people. It was telling my story, or getting into a sales transaction with somebody was never transactional for me. It was relational. It was about building a relationship and being able to get not only the stuff off my chest and unload what was on my chest, but hopefully give some words of wisdom or advice to somebody else so that it could make an impact and change
Yeah.
them. And so for me, I meet people every day that they're like, oh, I see you have this, or oh, you went to this college. And it's like, the experience to me is far more important than any degree that you could ever get. I have lost money that I would pay 2 and 3 times over because the lesson was so valuable. I almost probably couldn't have bought it for money, right? It helps shorten our learning process. Sometimes we have to learn those
Yeah.
hard. So
So, yeah, well, I think a shorter way of saying what you just said is look for the lessons a lot of times. That something is there to teach you a lesson. It only happens so you can grow through it and take that lesson away.
absolutely. I think that's a great way to summarize it.
That's pretty darn phenomenal. I happen to love that advice. So, is there any contact information you would like people out there to have?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to overload you with stuff, but you can email me at Cory, 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 your coach at gmail.com if you're interested in any sort of business development or consulting. If it's real estate related investment stuff, I buy all over the country. So you can go to igotasellmyhouse.com. That's www.igotasellmyhouse.com. You can just reach out to me on Facebook or social media at Cory McCaskey. You can find me very easily that way. And I am very, very Googleable. So I am not hard to.
Global. That's awesome. So I thank you so much. I know you're a busy guy and you do quite a bit, and you took the time out of your evening to be here with me and my viewers. And you actually answered some of my questions. So I thank you so much. And I need this week, next week, and for the rest of your life, I need you and everybody out there to do me a favor. So I need you to make every second count. Why? Because you never know when the seconds are going to run out on your one life. Cory almost was killed in a motorcycle accident. I was almost killed in a car accident. So your life can change in the blink of an eye. So make every second count. Hey, I'll see you guys back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, don't forget you have to make every second count. Thank you again, Cory.
Absolutely, Jeff. Have a good one.